morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Perhaps it is Saturday for many of you that tune in from abroad. Happy Friday, happy weekend. And for those of you who might be a little bit superstitious, happy Friday the 13th. Prayerfully, everyone is enjoying this last day of the work week for many. And there are others that are preparing actually for weekend work. So, no matter what it is that you are doing, be thankful that you're able to do these things and that you give your best. So, this is going to be a quick live. Let me see how much time I have. About an hour or so to briefly go over and recap some of the things in the news. In the photo, you see Vice President Kamala Harris, and you see Fulton County, Georgia, DA Fani Willis, and a face that may be new to some, and that is Linsey Davis. And I will get to all of that momentarily. Before I begin, let me go ahead and present my fair use disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, which states allowance is made for fair use of copyrighted material for purposes of commentary, criticism, news reporting, research, education, teaching, and/or scholarship. It provides for the legal, non-licensed citation and/or incorporation of copyrighted material by others which might be infringing under other circumstances. I don't believe I need a viewer discretion disclaimer, but just in case, the following broadcast contains mature themes and/or situations intended for adults. Viewer discretion is advised. Let me collect this first comment first. Hey there, hippy dippy. How are you? Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to your followers, your family, your friends. Just happy Friday. Now, the first item I'm going to go over, and I know I said I was going to do my reaction to the debate. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet, but I promise I will get to it. It's just a lot to unpack, and I want to make sure that every talking point I have, I actually get to address. So, that being said, there was a debate that many people thought would not happen between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Now, a question that I have, and I've looked at many different sites, is who do you believe won that debate? Or, if not one being the proper word, appeared to be more promising? Who appeared to be the strongest at the conclusion of the debate? Now, keep in mind, many people will say that they do not agree with many media outlets and that some are biased According to CNN, they believe that Kamala Harris was the strongest. And there are others. There are many content creators who feel as though Trump was the strongest in this debate. There were also several comments that were left by those that witnessed this epic, if you will, debate, who said that they were actually surprised by VP Harris's performance. Now, what has been newsworthy as far as this particular debate? And I do implore you, as I always do, conduct your own thorough research and fact check, fact check, fact check. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and put that in the chat before I go any further. Fact check. Now, I saw a couple of stories that allege that cheating may have been involved. Cheating by way of questions prepared for the debate were given to Kamala Harris via ABC News. You may definitely Google that, and you will see that's something that is trending. But there has been, at least to my knowledge, any proof that this story has been substantiated. And when I think about it, to me, on the surface, it sounds absolutely ridiculous. And one of the headlines, and you can go to Newsweek, and the title of that particular headline is MAGA pushes claim, and that's the operative word here, pushes claim of a quote unquote ABC whistleblower that states that Harris was given the debate questions in advance. Now again, when you are dealing with elections and politics, you will have, and many of us know this, smear campaigns, allegations, some egregious, some that you can look at and obviously can tell that there's no credence behind that. But the caveat with this particular allegation, and I personally believe that it is an allegation, is the fact that the debate, which was moderated by both David Muir and Linsey Davis, who you also see in the photograph or thumbnail, was a bit biased. Now, the reason why it has been alleged that there has been bias is because of the background of Linsey Davis. And I am going to attempt to share the screen because I like to have a reference. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I like to have a reference when I'm speaking on something so you know where I get the information that's been posted as opposed to just saying it. I find it helpful and people can understand and not have to guess what it is I'm trying to say. As you can see right here, according to the New York Post, ABC debate moderator Linsey Davis was a member of the same storied sorority as Kamala Harris. Now, many of you that may have been following this and questions about Kamala Harris's ethnic background and race and everything that entails. We knew back in 2020 that she attended Howard University, which is in Washington, D.C., which is where I'm from. And Howard University is an HBCU, which means a historically Black college or university. And these are just some of the stories here. You can do whatever search you choose, but I'm looking at the New York Post, and the headline is ABC debate moderator Linsey Davis was a member of the same storied sorority as Kamala Harris. Does that have any significance to the debate? Or is this much to do about nothing? So that's the first issue or recap I wanted to go over. Number one, again, who do you believe? And that's my alarm, and I'm already up and ready to roll. Who do you believe was the strongest in the debate? Again, I will be giving my reaction with that, but I want to make sure that all of my notes are consistent with the talking points I've selected. And I can say, at least right now, my personal opinion, there were areas where I believe they both did pretty well. I also believe there were areas where there were questions that went unanswered. I believe there were areas where there was hesitation obvious hesitation as it related to some of the questions. Now, again, this first snippet as it relates to Vice President Kamala Harris, there is a allegation, rumor, if you will, that Linsey Davis, who I just spoke about, may have been biased, and that ABC may have leaked the questions to Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, this whistleblower, if you will, went to X, formerly known as Twitter, and claimed to be a MAGA supporter, alleging that an affidavit that the debate was rigged will be released. So again, there have been allegations that was posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that allegedly there may be an affidavit released to say that this debate was rigged. Honestly, in my opinion, I would not hold my breath on that. The Twitter or X poster went on to say, and I quote, "I will be releasing an affidavit from an ABC," and that's the news outlet, an ABC whistleblower, regarding the debate. "I have just signed a non-disclosure agreement with the attorney of the whistleblower," according to the account on X, formerly known as Twitter. And for those of you who would like to go see that, the Twitter account is named DocNet YouTube. Again, DocNet YouTube. D as in David, OC, N as in Nancy, ET as in Tom, hold on for a second, my device just went out on me. YouTube. So again, at DOC, NET YouTube, all one word, for those of you that might be interested in this allegation that apparently escalated from a post found on X, formerly known as Twitter. Good morning, James. How are you? Happy Friday. Happy weekend. You said your cell phone is watching? No worries. Make sure that your face isn't the only thing that you wash. Cleanliness is next to godliness. So now that we have that out of the way, again, it is my opinion, and I could be completely off base, but I would be surprised, and I say that I don't get surprised with many things, but this I would be surprised if there's any credibility that comes out of this at all. You, James, have a wonderful day as well. And that sentiment applies to each and every one of you. Now, the next quick topic is, of course, none other than Fulton County's DA, Fani Willis, who has been in the news for the longest. Now, the latest, I want to say, occurred Thursday, maybe. Give me a second because I want to make sure that I am accurate. I had it, then something else popped up. Okay, here we go. Judge McAfee, according to CBS News, dropped two counts against former President Donald Trump in the 2020 Georgia election probe. And this, like I said, 2020, it's now 2024. This has been a very long time. Judge Scott McAfee said that the two counts that were dropped fall under federal jurisdiction, and those counts dealt with conspiracy and filing false documents. Again, these counts deal with conspiracy and filing false documents. So that means that 5 counts of the original indictment against Trump have been dismissed. There are now 8 counts that remain out of the original 13. Hey there, Joy. How are you? I am doing well. How are you? And good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. I think it's afternoon, or it might be morning there in the Philippines. I'm not sure. But greetings. So again, 5 counts of the original indictment against former President Trump have been dismissed. He now faces 8, which is still quite a bit. And according to CBS News, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who brought the charges against Trump, declined to comment on those latest being dropped. Now, back in April, it was disclosed that Fani Willis acknowledged that she had a romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, with whom she appointed to lead the prosecution against Trump. The issue is she did not fess up until someone disclosed that information. One of Trump's co-defendants sought to have not only Willis but the entire office disqualified because of the relationship. Not so much of the relationship itself, but the non-disclosure of that which goes against Georgia ethics. And I would think, and I've said this before, being the quote-unquote top dumb, that's something you should have known. I'm sure she knew that, but sometimes people just don't follow certain rules and procedures when in office. As a result, Nathan Wade was no longer on that case. Now, the state appeals court is set to begin to hear arguments in disqualification bid in December. And we all know that the election will be over prior to December, and the ruling must be made by March 14th, 2025. So we will be in, God willing, a new year. And that ultimately means that unless by some strange freak of nature, hey there, Dinesh Bag Making, how are you? Good evening to you. I am doing well, and I pray that you are as well. Bottom line, as I mentioned, unless some freak of nature happens, unless we go through another strange Mercury retrograde or strange occurrence within the universe, Trump should not face trial in this case before the November election. Now, keep in mind, the racketeering charges, those have been upheld. So nothing has been wiped clean. Next, really quickly, because it is 12:15, Fani Willis was issued a subpoena earlier this week. And there's been quite a bit of talk about that. And according to Fox 5 in Atlanta, and you all are free, actually. So if you are interested in this case, and many are, it's a good source of information. But Fani Willis was supposed to appear in front of the State Senate committee who is investigating her. But she felt that she would not appear to anything that is unlawful, and further asserted that she had not broken any law. Now, usually, and I can say this, and I showed it earlier this week, complaints are different. Okay, Dinesh says, I'm on dinner. Well, you enjoy your dinner, Dinesh. Make sure it's healthy. When it comes to complaints and other documents, they can be delivered, or the term used, served on either the individual named, or it can be subserved on a resident, a confirmed resident of age, or someone who is authorized to accept on that person's behalf. Now, some of the rules are different in different jurisdictions. Subpoenas and oral testimonies are different. With many subpoenas, there is language towards the bottom that specifically reads that if service is made, and these normally, on normal circumstances, need to be served personally, meaning the person named has to receive it. If you receive that subpoena, there is language on there that states if you do not appear, you could be subject to body attachment. And Nightbot is on his or her job. I'm not sure the gender of Nightbot, so I'll just say Nightbot is on their job. You are subject to body attachment. Body attachment is just a fancy term, meaning that you could be arrested because it is a demand for your appearance. And there are many types of subpoenas. Usually, those subpoenas are for individuals to testify. But then you also have subpoenas that request that you produce documents, and the name of those subpoenas are, and I forgot if it's Latin, but it's called a subpoena ducis tecum, which means the production of documents. Now, a lot of you may not be familiar a lot about some of the things that I've done, some of the things that I do. I talk about it a little, but now that I am considering myself retired, I can speak about these things more and go into detail, because I just want people to understand, people who may doubt knowledge or experience. I've seen many people on several platforms that get dragged if they speak on something because they may not be familiar with that person, because they don't talk about a lot of things. So people will assume. And as I've said, and I've actually posted um, some of my credentials, which again I will say without hesitation affords me the opportunity to speak on things with a high level of confidence, because these are things that I've done. And as an added bonus, I have the education and training behind it. So, just in case that's not known or understood, it should be now. And I was correct. It is Latin. Again, when you have a subpoena that requests the production of documents, it's called a subpoena ducis tecum. Sometimes, again, it all depends on jurisdiction. You can have a custodian of records to compile the production of said documents. And deliver them to the attorney on record. And the regular subpoenas, if personally served, commands you, orders you to appear to testify, either at a hearing, a deposition. It could be many different things. But those, as I mentioned earlier, are different than a complaint, which can be again served personally or subserved. Again, it depends on the jurisdiction. And another court form that a lot of people seek to have served, and it must be served personally, is an oral exam. And that is usually when you have a small claims case. And the judge rules in your favor. And even if the defendant promises to pay what they've been ordered to pay, sometimes that doesn't happen. So the plaintiff, or the person who brought the suit and received the judgment, will request an oral exam. And the purpose of an oral exam is to ascertain assets, meaning bank accounts. The main thing that they're seeking is the POE, or place of employment. So they could go back and request a writ of garnishment and serve that upon the HR or payroll department, where, again, it depends on your jurisdiction, but I know here, no more than 25% of your check can be garnished. So those are just two. There are several, but those are just two that definitely need to be personally served. And again, these are things that I've done. I've uploaded several videos showing my doing just that and filing them in court. Jane says, by the way, how is your day? My day is wonderful. It's a new day. I'm still breathing. So it's an awesome day. How was your day? I'm going to assume it's going well because you're smiling and you're sending hearts. So that means that you're in a good area or a good space. So again, you have your regular subpoenas and your subpoena ducis tecum. And I think I'm going to start speaking more about certain things like this because we see a lot of these cases going on. And just so people may know, I'll put it this way, there are people that are gearing up for the winter. And I don't know, I think this year we might have a early winter because it's starting to get breezy early, and we're still in the early parts of September. So we may have an early winter. I'm not really sure. I have a feeling. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling. That being said, I cannot tell you how many people, and I don't mean to laugh, but there are people out there, there are people on this app that I call sue. And when I say sue, I mean they seek litigation. Not so much as because they've been harmed, but they want an easy payday. And slip and falls are some of the most quote unquote popular ways to get paid, because more than likely it's not going to court. You're going to hire an attorney, a personal injury attorney, of course. So do an intake. They'll gather all of the information. Pictures and footage of that area will be filmed. Again, I've done this, so I know. Then you have to go to the doctor, depending upon your injury or your claimed injury. Oftentimes, you then have to go through physical therapy. After all that's completed, then there's a negotiation with you, the attorney, and the insurance company. They'll go from, I'll say the cap, at least in this jurisdiction, and depending upon the said injury, is about $30,000. So by the time the doctor is paid and the attorneys are paid, you may walk away with $5K, some less. But the winter time is when slip and falls are rampant. Oh, no worries. I know Joy is extremely busy, but thank you. So that's just a little bit of background on how some of these things work. And one more thing as it relates to serving. There are people who avoid service. They know that it's coming, but they feel as though if they're not home or they choose not to answer the door, then they may have a slight reprieve. And that happens often. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone that supports. I truly do. But what some people don't understand is, depending upon the individual, the type of case. Hey there, Joy. Thank you so much for coming by and supporting. But depending upon the type of case, the severity of the case, and the aggressiveness of the attorney, they may do a motion for alternative service. And that's basically an affidavit by the person attempting to serve the document several different times of the week, day, evening, or night, observing if there's movement in the home, if there's radio or TV on, if there is a vehicle that's been identified, that's been there. And those that are true professionals and go to neighbors and ask, is such and such home? 9 times out of 10, depends on how you approach people. They can give you a wealth of information as to when they may leave out, when they may come in. There are a couple of things that could put a hiccup in that. One is if you have a huge trespassing sign. That can be tricky. Or if that person has a garage, most people with a garage will park inside. There are others that will park in the driveway. So it could be hit or miss. But alternative service is basically showing and proving that you've been there, you've left notices to contact you in reference to a court document. And if the motion is written strong enough, the judge will usually grant it. And the server just need to go back to the property, post it, take a photo of it, and it's considered served. And I'd like to add, and I need to go back and find it, but I actually wrote a motion in an important case that was actually on the news, where an individual had scammed a lot of people out of money, a quote unquote business owner who wasn't licensed, and actually damaged a lot of property. I was able to find that individual and serve them. And I wrote the motion. The motion was granted, and the person received judgment. So that qualifies me to speak on many things that I am going to start speaking on. It's going to be different from some of the content that I'm doing, but just a stamp, if you will, for anyone who may question, because there are people that question many things. If you go to different pages, I did a reaction video, wee hours of the morning, and I tried to make sure that the other person that was being spoke on wasn't brought to the forefront, because that wasn't the purpose of it. I wanted to speak on spirits and energy and things of that nature. Okay, James says, hold on, James. The time here in the Philippines is 12:36 midnight. Okay, well, it is 12:39, or I guess 36 Eastern Standard Time here on the East Coast in the US of A. So there are a lot of people that, I can give an example. There's one particular sector that I follow often, and to me, there's some wild people over there, but some of the receipts that they show and some of the things that have been alleged, and come to find out, a lot of the things aren't true. It's funny, but that's what, unfortunately, a lot of people do. And again, a lot of people look to this as entertainment. So people may say a lot of things, but when it boils down to it, really is if you can truly, truly back up what it is that you say. There are some people, as I've said many times before, they don't care. They really don't, because it's entertainment. It's entertainment. And there are a lot of people that are actually funny. Oh, I won't, trust me. I'll have my smoothie prior to I get to work, and my ginger water. But I just wanted to say that it's in a lot of spaces. There's a site, actually, a channel that I watch often, and it's called Scammers Payback, where they actually go into some of these call centers and show the setups and how people are being scammed. So, as I mentioned, there's a wealth of different types of content on here in many different areas. You have people who speak about FBA, Pan-Africanism. There have been a couple of people under fire from some claims on some certain things. I'm not going to go into that, but if you know, you know. So I'm just saying that to say there are people that will claim certain things, and when the receipts are shown, and I'm speaking authenticated receipts, ledgers by CPAs. Thank you. Prayer is always good, and I appreciate that so much, James and Joy, and anyone who's listening or may catch the replay. But as I mentioned, that there are people that will just say things or make it seem as though it's real, when in fact you just have to know. I don't want to be a character on here. I have no problem with others who choose to do that. But that's something that I choose not to do. If I'm presenting something and speaking on it, I want to be able to speak intelligently on it, have something to reference, and if possible, show my experience in that, so there's no question that, okay, she's done this. She's shown examples. She's actually shown us doing the work. And that's all that I expect from others. If you're speaking on something, at the bare minimum, if you're going to reference something, know what it is and know how to convey it to your audience so they can understand. That's one of the first things I learned in school, in one of my classes, actually one of my research classes, and writing, as a matter of fact, that you have to always consider the audience. And when it comes to investigations and when you're doing your cases and you're writing them, you want to make sure that you have enough information in there so that the person reviewing it won't have to come back and ask you any questions. And if they do, the questions are few. If you turn in a report or a file, and that person has to ask you questions because the relevant information isn't there, you're not doing your job. You're not thorough. You're not paying attention to detail, or you just don't know. That oftentimes leads to your being relevant, your being of value to your organization or your team. And that's one thing that I will always accredit my supervisor when I first got into the field, who was actually a special agent in charge, a veteran, just a truly talented, decorated individual. He was always the first person in the office and the last one to leave. Made sure that all of the evidence was accounted for and weapons were accounted for and secured. Those are characteristics and traits of a true leader, and that is why he held that position and was promoted to chief of the threat management branch. He was actually the one who wrote the nomination for me to receive Most Reliable back in 2001, shortly after 9/11. Hi there, Dinesh. Good night to you as well, Dinesh. So that, along with my training, working with a lot of the upper echelon of attorneys here, and I've mentioned this before, one is a clerk in the court. And when I say clerk, I don't mean sitting at the desk when you bring in new cases. I'm talking about the actual clerk where cases or new cases are accepted and you'll see the clerk's name and the seal, and one who is a sitting judge. My performance rate with them when they were attorneys was 100%. Again, all of this can be verified, which again gives me the right to confidently speak on these things because I've actually done them and I've shown it. I am unsure if this is still going on, but if it is, we can look at a little bit of it. And I do mean a little bit. I just have to see. Again, this will be fair use. And I'm not sure if it's still going on, but we'll see. If not, I will do a reaction to that at a later time. This may be over, I'm not sure, but this was supposed to be footage of the
There were several aspects of that, including a trial, for a criminal trial. There was a contempt proceeding in the Georgia Senate on that, and I think there were subpoenas issued pursuant to that, but I'm not sure. That would have been the only case, and then Stewart mentioned one, I think, that subpoenas were issued back in the 1800s. But those would be the only cases that I'm aware of.
So, 150 years ago, and then in proceedings against one of our own members. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you being with us this morning and all your service to the Senate for many, many years. The last person on our agenda, of course, is the first person, Honorable Fani Willis. She has not appeared yet. I would ask the doorman, please check the hall to see if she has appeared before we adjourn. All right, thank you. Then let's please note for the record that Ms. Willis has failed to appear in compliance with the subpoena and has failed to produce the documents requested by our subpoena for production of documents. This time, I want to let the committee know that we have hired Mr. Josh Belafonte to assist us in our legal enforcement efforts on the subpoena, and I would like for us to have an opportunity to be briefed by him. We have privileged communications with him under the attorney-client privilege. Our rules do permit, I think it's Rule 5 of our committee rules, that we can go into an executive session or a session that is closed to the public. So that requires a majority vote of the committee. If anybody is interested in having a private conversation with our counsel to let us know where the litigation stands, now would be the appropriate time to move for that. I recognize Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that. And I would move that we do, pursuant to Senate Rule 1-5.1, just stated, have this
Private briefing. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. All right, at that time, then we will conclude the public portion of this meeting, and we will stand adjourned as a public meeting. We will continue in a executive session to be briefed by our counsel on the current status of litigation concerning the enforcement of the subpoena. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It appears, unless I came in late, that DA Fani Willis did not appear, and they're going to look at enforcement of the subpoena. I'm not sure how that's going to go. Again, this is the Georgia State Senate Committee who is doing their own investigation. And Fani Willis was on the docket, if you will, and it appears that she did not appear after being subpoenaed. So we caught the tail end of that, And that's what I was speaking about a little bit earlier, about different types of subpoenas. And you heard where there was all supposed to be a production of documents as well. So thank you to those that took a moment to stop by. Thank you, and to those who may catch the replay, if you have any thoughts on, as I said earlier, who you thought was the strongest in the debate of VP Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Number two, if you believe there's any credence in this allegation, and I'm going to say that this allegation, which I don't believe that ABC has a whistleblower that says that the questions were given to VP Harris prior to the debate. And then lastly, the revelation, if you will, that one of the moderators in the debate, Linsey Davis, is a sorority sister of VP Kamala Harris. So that is my recap on these ladies in high profile positions and in the news. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy this Friday. And as always, be safe, be well, be healthier. Until next video. Bye-bye for now.